A couple more places that I want to do the little burnt umber wash are on the cuffs to tuck the little sleeve a little bit better next to the muff. So I'll lay down on that gold area a little burnt umber and then blend that hard edge away. So anywhere the sleeve looks like it's going under something, the other side as well. A little bit of shadow there. And just soften any hard edge away. So just lay it down with the round brush side, flip it over and blend with your blender. Okay, then I also want to add a little ribbon, and I'm going to use the Naphthol Red Light, and I'm actually going to thin it with some extender because I want to kind of do a little bit of a wet blending for the highlight so I can just kind of get it done faster. So I just start with a couple little strokes to make the knot, and then some kind of a little wiggly, just kind of make a little wiggly bow. I can kind of go from thick to thin. Do that on each side. That way it doesn't have to be perfect. And a couple little tails coming down. Start out skinny, and then you can get a little fatter. Kind of curve it in or out, just so that it has a little bit of movement. Okay, then I'll wash the brush off in water, wipe it on the towel, but then I want to get more extender on, wipe that off, pick up some of the titanium white, and I'll just kind of hit a few areas to blend them. So maybe like the top of the knot, tap a little in up there, flip the brush, just soften the bottom edge, pick up more white as you need it. Let's maybe get some center areas. And just kind of tap it in and then soften each end. Pick up more titanium white. Just want to get a little bit of highlight in a few areas, pop some areas up a little higher than others. And I think it's easier to do it while the paint is still wet underneath. So just kind of dab it in. And then just soften the starting and stopping points. I'm not pulling through all the color. I just want to get the ends. Flip the brush, soften. Maybe a little on this bottom section. Okay, now if I leave it with a hard line there, it's actually going to make it look like the bow is flipped a little bit, so I think I'm going to do that. I'll leave that in there. I'll just soften the one side. A little on the other bow. And you decide if you want this to flip under or if you just want to soften the ending points. And if you soften away too much, you can always come back and put just a little bit more on. Some of those center areas especially. And that's all there is to the bow. It's kept kind of simple. just want to get a little extra color going in there. Okay, then it's a matter of doing the snowflakes. Now, let's start with this one that's close to her head here. That one is done with the Dazzling Metallics Shimmering Silver. So when I do that one, I'm going to use a liner, but there's a few areas on your pattern you're going to notice that some of the lines are like dotted lines. For those, I'm going to use this wave angle. It's the black gold wave angle, and it's a 1/4 inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these little wavy tips to just gently set down on the surface and lift, and it's going to give me a little irregular line rather than a hard line. So I pick up just a little bit on the very tips of the shimmering silver, and I want to be able to see those little wavy lines. So handle straight up and down, and when I just barely touch the tips and lift. So I'll do that for any of those areas that have dotted lines on your pattern, and you get those little irregular lines rather than just a flat solid line. It's really nice for snowflakes. Just gently touch and lift. If you press too hard, it gets filled in too much. And I excuse me, do think that it's easier if I point the tip away from me, but it's even pressure setting it down on all the little wavy tips. This is also how I do the little individual flakes in between here and there, the little sparkle flakes. Just set it down and lift. So rather than a perfectly straight line, you get a little bit more of a dotted thing going on, and I like that. And it's actually really quick to be able to do the lines this way. I think it's actually faster than using a liner brush anyway. So just set and lift. Now you're going to notice that some of the snowflakes are gold, the metallic gold. Some are the silver. Some are a little bit more of a metallic blue. And for the metallic blue, I took and put just a little touch of the ultramarine blue into the shimmering silver, so that I have a little bit different color. Now, I could continue using this for all the different lines, but I kind of like having a variety. So on the rest of the snowflake, I'm just going to use my liner. Start with the circle in the middle, and it's got a hole in it. Okay, and then I'm going to do circles all the way around, and all of the snowflakes are basically the same, so I'm just going to demonstrate this one. They just have, you know, circles and lines and stroke work, and there's no shading or highlighting. They're just all little detail work. It's not hard, it's just time consuming. Okay, and then I have some of the areas, there's like a little teardrop. Get a little bit fatter there. And just think about filling in. You don't have to think of necessarily stroke work. And then any of the dots are all done with the wooden end of the brush. So every time you set it down, you'll get a little bit smaller dot. So I use that on the ends. You could use a Snowflake stencil if you wanted to. I just think it's kind of fun to kind of make it up as you go along. Don't worry about changing the design of the snowflake. Each snowflake is unique, each snowflake is different. Little teardrops in between here. And if you're not good at the at the lines or strokes, you know, just have some of your background color handy. And after it dries, just go back and touch it up a little bit. Fix any of your boo-boos. And I haven't added any water or anything to the shimmering silver. I'm using it right from the bottle. If you accidentally fill the circles in, just go back with your background color. Or you could even just use black, because it would just kind of create a nice little shadow. And I just think the more you add, the more it distracts from any imperfections. So just keep adding detail. And little areas that might be bothering you right now, after you get everything done, it really does blend together nicely, so I really don't think anyone will notice. And I'll add little dots in between. I think I'll use my stylus to do the dots in between. There again, if I want them the same size, I need to redip every time before putting it on my snowflake here. Otherwise, they're going to get smaller as I go. And the dots coming out, you just use the wooden end of the brush, dip it in the paint. Every time you set it down, they get smaller. And that's all there is to the snowflakes. It's just filling them in. Each one is a little bit unique, so just kind of look at your photograph as to which one is which. Okay, then I'm going to show you the strokes down at the bottom. And there again, you can use a liner brush, whatever size feels comfortable to you. However, if you use one that is a little bit longer, you might be able to pull the stroke a little longer. So let's try a 0. This is a script liner in the black gold, and it is silver in the strokes that are way off to the side here on the bottom. So I'm going to start, let's get this at an angle where I can see it better. I'm going to start at the fat end. Now if you're not good at stroke work, just think more about filling it in rather than making it perfect stroke work. You know, don't be afraid to come back and touch it up. Just follow on down. And a lot of times, even though I'm running out of paint, I kind of follow through with my brush anyway, and then come back and do the touch-ups. Add more paint. I try to get thinner as I get towards the bottom. I haven't added any water to this. Usually it's pretty good right from the bottle. However, if your paint has been sitting out for a while, then you may want to add a little bit of water to it to make it flow off your brush easier. And you can always use your background color to come back and do touch-ups if you need to. If your lines don't come out perfect, I'm not afraid of going back and playing and touching up. Make this a little fatter up at the beginning. Okay, and then I've got another one here too. And just kind of take your time with this part. Even though this is something you do at the end, it's usually something you want to take your time at. So if you're tired, I may even wait a day, come back the next day and do this. Nice and fluid. Bring it on down. And there again, even though I'm kind of running out of paint, I follow through with my stroke. Actually, I think I'll connect those two together. Make that a little thicker, and I can come backwards too if I need to. And we'll get some strokes up in the top here. Make the first one the longest. And another one. And I'm not letting these touch, I'm keeping these separate. And when I did this piece originally, I didn't have it all planned out. I like to just kind of play as I go along and make it up. So I really just played. This is almost like doodling for me. Try to get a little extra paint on the brush when I first start. I'll get one more long one. And that's basically it. There's just stroke work and snowflakes left. And it's just all liner brush work. And then any of the pattern that has the little jagged lines, those of course are done with the wave angle. So you've got another snowflake at the bottom here that has the, I drew just the line. I find it easier just to do the center line. I just set it down because I want that irregular. In fact, let's zoom in just a little bit so you can really see that little line there. And then on each side of that I'm like at a 45-degree angle. I'm just setting down the brush, and I want the bottom to be a little bit longer and then shorter as I get towards the top. So I might have to set it down twice, kind of 1.5 and then 1, 1. Okay, and then on the end of that it has design that's just done with, there again, the liner brush, or the dots are done with the wooden end of the brush. And whatever you want to do to it, do what feels comfortable. And then I do like to varnish my canvas, and I'll use one of two things. I'll either use the DecoArt Traditions satin varnish and brush it on, or I'll use the DecoArt spray varnish, and I like the gloss, but you know, it comes in different finishes, so you decide which finish you prefer. And if I'm going to be brushing it on, I really do like the Dynasty Faux Squirrel for applying any kind of varnish. It's a little bit softer, and so I just feel like my varnish goes on a little bit smoother. So use like a 1-inch flat brush in the Faux Squirrel from Dynasty. Okay, so here's the very bottom of the canvas. This is all finished now. Here's one of those blue snowflakes. I've got 3 of them towards the bottom, so I mixed just a little tint of the ultramarine blue into the shimmering silver to do the snowflake here, down in the corner, and the little one off to the left. All of the little sparkle snowflakes are the shimmering silver. You'll see that I've added some metallic gold with the Emperor's Gold. I did some stroke work with that as well in between the silvers. A gold snowflake here. And then up at the very top of the canvas, there again, I've got the silver snowflake we demonstrated, the silver blue up in the top left corner, the metallic gold, and then both silver and gold stroke work throughout the piece. So I hope you enjoyed this little project. Anytime you have any questions, please feel free to email me. You can find my email on my website, as well as all of the brushes needed to complete this project. Visit www.jillybean.net.